The kitchen of the campus was bustling with excitement as the annual cooking competition was in full swing. Pots and pans clattered, delicious smell filled the air, and students hurried around, trying to create their masterpieces. Among all the competitors, there were two people who stood out, Jungkook and Ryan. These two were not just any competitors, they were childhood rivals who had spent years bickering, teasing, and annoying each other since their early days. They had shared a deep rooted animosity, always trying to one up the other in every situation. To make things more complicated, Jungkook's sister Sarah was Ryan's best friend, which meant their rivalry was always in full force at family gatherings. Today, however, the competition was about more than just bragging rights. It was a chance for them to finally prove once and for all who was the better cook. But, of course, neither of them was about to make it easy for other. You are going to mess this up, Jungkook, she muttered, watching him struggle with his ingredients. Says the person who thinks throwing salt is an acceptable seasoning method, he said as he glanced over at her, smirking. Excuse me, salt is a must, she shot back, her voice dripping with sarcasm while Jungkook sighed, focusing on his cake batter, but disaster struck as he cracked an egg into the bowl. It slipped from his hand and cracked awkwardly on the counter, spilling egg white all over. Wow, look at you, didn't even get the egg into the bowl, what a failure. She laughed while his face turned red in embarrassment, but he quickly recovered. Shut up, you will not know how to make cake if it just slap you on your face. And yeah, you don't know my cooking skills. Just put salt in your dishes, not others, he said as Vine rolled her eyes. Oh, I will know. Unlike you, you are too busy making a mess, she taunted, with a grin while Jungkook quickly tried to recover, but the situation only worsened. As he grabbed another egg, cracking it into the bowl, this time the egg broke perfectly until it slipped out of his hands and spattered on the counter. Oh my god, Jungkook, you can't even crack an egg without messing it up, she said as a laugh escaped from her mouth. Shut up. I don't need your commentary. It's not like you are any better. He shot back, but Vine's screen only widened. Please, I'm amazing in the kitchen. Look at me. Vine winked, flipping her hair with confidence as she stirred her dish. Yeah, sure, but you probably think tossing salt around in the key to every dish, he said as he stared at her, unimpressed. Salt is important, Jungkook, but I'm sure you will not understand, she said while Jungkook scoffed as he grabbed another egg. I think I'm doing just fine. He cracked another egg, but this time the egg slipped out of his hands, landing onto the floor with a wet splat. While Vine tried to stop her laugh, well, looks like you have lost your eggs, she snickered, as Jungkook shot her a glare, wiping his hands on his apron. I haven't lost them. You are just here to watch me fail. You are enjoying this, are not you? He asked, gritting his teeth. Who, me? I'm just having a good time watching you make a fool of yourself, she shrugged, raising an eyebrow with a sly grin. Jungkook in frustration glanced at Vine's station and there he saw her neatly arranged eggs and couldn't resist taking a chance. He quickly grabbed a few of her eggs from the counter and stuffed them into his basket. Hey, what do you think you are doing? She gasped in disbelief while Jungkook smirked. Borrowing some eggs? You have got plenty, don't you? He said while Vine ground frustratingly. Those are my eggs, you thief. Give them back, she protested, but Jungkook only grinned looking at her. You were not using them, so it's fine, he said shrugging his shoulders while Vine clenched her fists in annoyance. I was about to use them, you egg-stealing rat, she longed toward him, but he stepped back quickly, holding the basket with his stolen eggs out of reach. Stop this nonsense, guys. Sarah, who was watching all this, rushed towards them to stop the fight, but Vine shook her head. No, Sarah, tell him to give them back now. She was practically growling at him. You are so dramatic. It's just a few eggs. He scoffed, not ready to return her eggs, seeing his this attitude only boiled Vine's anger more. Those are my eggs, Jungkook. I need them. She yelled, but Jungkook only smirked as Vine, frustrated and tired of his seizing, picked up an egg from her own stash, her face reddening with anger. With a swift movement, she cracked it over Jungkook's head, the yolk running down his hair and face. Sarah gasped, covering her mouth, her eyes widened. You are not getting away with this, thief, she said while grinning devilishly. The kitchen fell into silence for a moment. Jungkook stood there, frozen egg dripping down his face, his eyes widened in disbelief and his mouth open in shock, his hair matted with egg yolk. Then his lips curled into a sleek grin and his eyes sparkled with mischief. Oh, so that's how it is, huh? He said with a swift movement. He grabbed the nearest bag of flour, wrapped it open, and in a second he poured the entire content over Vine's head. Flour rained down like a storm, coating her completely. She stood still for a moment, stunned, the powder covering her like a blanket, leaving only her wide, shocked eyes visible through the mess. Oh my god, I can't with this too, she said after a loud gasp left from her mouth in shock, and before she also got involved in that mess, she turned back to return at her place. You, she stammered in disbelief while wiping flour from her eyes, her face a mix of worry and astonishment. Her usually neat appearance was now completely ruined. Her hair, once tied neatly, now hung in flour-covered strands. She looked like a ghost in a baking disaster, but she wasn't going to let Jungkook have the last laugh. The entire kitchen was now in chaos, laughter filling the air as everyone watched the food fight escalate between the two. Vian, still coated in flour, glared at Jungkook, her face clenched at her sides. Her face was red with anger, her eyes narrow, filled with fiery determination to get her revenge. Jungkook, still dripping in egg and flour, stood with a cookie smirk on his face, enjoying the sight of her utterly flustered. "You are going to regret this, Jungkook," she said while stomping. Her voice was low and venomous, the sound of her stomping echoing in the kitchen. She looked like she might burst into flames any second. "Oh, really? I think you are the one who should be regretting messing with me," he said while laughing and wiping flour off his cheek. His smirk grew wider, a mischievous gleam dancing in his eyes as he shrugged, completely unfazed by the mess he was in. Before he could react, Vian reached for a handful batter from her mixing bowl, her eyes locking onto him with a pure determination. With a swift movement, she hurled it directly at Jungkook, the thick mixture splattering across his chest. The batter oozed down his shirt, and the students burst into even louder laughter. "You really think you can win this, huh?" he said, and how much he wants to look angry, he couldn't help but laugh, looking at Vian's condition. His laughter echoed through the kitchen, and he wiped his hands frantically, as though he were too good for this mess. He looked down at the batter on his shirt and rolled his eyes in mock disgust, clearly enjoying the absurdity of the situation. With one last mischievous look, Jungkook grabbed an egg from another contestant's station. Without warning, he smashed it over Vine's head. The liquid spluttered across her face and neck. Her eyes widened in complete disbelief, and her face was a mix of shock and fury, the egg dripping down her hair to her shirt. "You did not." She rolled her eyes wide in disbelief, mouth agape. Her hair clothes were now drenched in both flour and egg. Her clothes clung to her skin, and her entire face turned red with fury. She looked like she might explode any second as she took a quick glance at Sarah, who just gave her an apologetic look, clearly trying hard to not burst out laughing as she witnessed her brother and best friend in a messy, silly, stupid fight. The kitchen was now in complete chaos, with flour clouds floating in the air and the smell of burnt food mixed with laughter. The other students couldn't stop laughing, some even clapping at the absurdity of it all. Jungkook and Mayan rivalry had officially reached new heights, and it seemed like nothing would stop them. But before they could continue their bickering, the principal and a few teachers walked in, their eyes widening at the sight of the disaster. Their jaws dropped as they took in the floor covered students and the mess everywhere. "What in the world is happening here?" His eyes widening in disbelief, raising an eyebrow as he asked, while Jungkook and Vian turned to face him, their faces full of defiance and frustration. Vian's floor-covered face was a mix of embarrassment and anger, while Jungkook's face remained smug. "He started it. He stole my eggs," she said while pointing at Jungkook as she threw her hands up in expression, her voice high-pitched with irritation. "She cracked an egg on my head first," he said as he crossed his arms over his chest, clearly unbothered by the mess he was in. His smirk never fluttered as he should have looked at Vian, almost daring her to do something more. The principal glanced between the two, his face growing redder with frustration. He let out a long sigh, pitching the bridge of his nose before he turned to the teachers for backup. "Both of you out of here. You have completely ruined the kitchen and the competition," he said as he motioned towards the door. his eyes burning with disappointment, but Jungkook and Ryan continue to glare at each other. Both of you are disqualified. The competition is officially over for you. He said, his face bright red in both frustration and disbelief. No, we can still finish our dishes, she protested, wiping flour out of her eyes. You have ruined the entire kitchen, he snapped, pointing to the wreckage around them. Both of you out now, he shouted while the two glared at each other. The competitive spirit between them evaporated, replaced by frustration and humiliation. The laughter of the students still rung in their ears as they walked out of the kitchen, both covered in flour and egg. I hate you so much, Jungkook, she muttered under her breath, still seething with rage. Oh, I hate you too, he shot back, wiping flour from his face. But I gotta admit, that was a pretty epic fight, he said as he chuckled, dusting the flour from his jeans. You think this is over? She snapped, glaring at him. You have only made it worse for yourself, she said while Jungkook smirked. We will see about that later, he said with a big grin as the two glared at each other for a moment longer before finally walking off in opposite directions. Even though they had just been thrown out of the competition, it was clear to everyone watching that this rivalry was far from over. The campus room echoed with uncontrollable laughter as Vine and Sarah clutched their stomachs, struggling to breathe between their fits of amusement. Vine, still covered in flour and streaks of egg, looked nothing short of a walking disaster. Her hair sticking out in odd places, her clothes completely ruined, and her face powdered white like a ghost. Sarah, I swear I looked at Jungkook, and he had an entire egg sliding down his face. I lost it, she said while gasping for air as she was laughing. I saw that. Oh my god. And the way you both just kept throwing things at each other, it wasn't even a competition anymore, it was a full on war, she said, laughing hysterically while holding her stomach. Vine leaned against the sink, wiping tears of laughter from her eyes, but every time she remembered Jungkook's shocked expression, his hair matted with yolk, his apron splattered with batter, she burst out laughing again. And then the principal's face, he looked like he was ready to expel us on the spot. Sarah nodded. I can't believe you two got thrown out of the competition. You guys are like actual maniacs, she said, while Van finally calmed down enough to glance at her reflection in the mirror and then sank into another round of laughter. Look at me, Sarah. I look like some kind of cursed kitchen ghost. If I walk out like this, people might actually scream, she said while pointing at herself as Sarah also laughed. Forget ghost, you look like someone who lost a battle with Bakery, she said as they continued giggling, reminiscing about every ridiculous moment of their chaotic food fight. Meanwhile, in the boys' restroom, Jungkook stood in front of the sink, his wet hair dripping slightly as he wiped his face with a towel. He had finally managed to wash off the mess, changing into a fresh shirt, but the memory of the disaster still played vividly in his mind as he looked at himself in the mirror, shaking his head with a swag. I swear that girl is a walking disaster. How do we always end up in these situations? He thought as he ran a hand through his damp hair, a small laugh escaping him as he recalled Vaya's shocked yet determined face right before she had smashed an egg into his head. She really went for it, huh? Crazy as ever, he murmured, and for a moment he just stood there, a mischievous glint in his eyes. He wasn't mad, if anything, he was already thinking of how to one up her. If she thinks she won this round, she is in for a surprise. He smirked, looking in the mirror. His mind was already plotting. He needed a new way to mess with her, to throw her off her game. After all, childhood enemies never let things slide so easily. With one last amused glance at himself, Jungkook grabbed his things and walked out of the restroom, ready to put his next plan into action. At evening, Sarah was getting ready to leave for a shopping trip with her mother. Grabbing her bag while fixing her hair in the mirror, Jungkook, however, had been waiting for the perfect moment. Casually, he leaned against the doorframe of Sarah's room, arm crossed, a lazy smirk playing on his lips. Hey Sarah, lend me your phone for a bit, he said, looking past by her as Sarah raised a suspicious brow, already knowing her brother too well. Why? She asked, narrowing her brows while Jungkook poked his inner cheek. My phone broke, genius. I need to text my friends about our group study session, he said as Sarah scoffed, shaking her head in disbelief. Yeah, right. As if I will let you go through my phone, use mom's or borrow someone else, she replied just as she was about to walk past him. Their mother, Mrs. June, stepped in. Sarah, stop being difficult and just give your brother the phone. He needs it, she said as Sarah ground dramatically before reluctantly handing her phone to Jungkook. Fine, but don't snoop around, you weirdo, she said while Jungkook flashed an innocent smile as she and their mother walked out of the house. As soon as the door shut behind them, his smirk deepened. Plopping onto the couch, he unlocked the phone and began scrolling. At first, he was just skimming through her chats, but then he stumbled upon a familiar name, Ryan. That's when the real fun began. He tapped on their conversation, chuckling at how ridiculous the two were. Sarah was flirting with Ryan like they always did, as childhood best friends. What is wrong with these two? He laughed, but then his eyes landed on something that made his stomach fade. Ryan was talking about her crush, a guy they saw in the club some days before. His grip on the phone tightened as he read through the messages. Sarah, I swear he is just so cute. I can't stop thinking about him. I swear I get butterflies when he's around. It's ridiculous. Jungkook felt a strange note in his stomach. Why did he suddenly feel annoyed? He had always teased Ryan, always made it his mission to get on her nerves. But this, the idea of her crushing on someone that didn't sit right with him. He shook lunch slightly before he exhaled, an idea forming in his mind. If Ryan wanted flirting, he will give her flirting, just not from her best friend. Let's see how you react to this, Ryan. With a mischievous glint in his eyes, he quickly typed out a message using Sarah's name. Hey Ryan, I was just thinking, are you French? Because Eiffel is for you. He hit send and leaned back, waiting. It didn't take long before Ryan replied. Sarah, what's wrong with you? That was horrible. Jungkook grinned after reading her message. Taking it as a challenge, he sent another. Are you a magician? Because whenever I look at you, everyone else disappears. He sent it, and a few seconds later, he saw the wise note icon pop up. Curious, he pressed play. Sarah, are you okay? You never this romantic with me. Should I be concerned? She sent a wise note in a playful tone. Jungkook felt his stomach to an unexpected flip as he listened to her voice, soft, easing, playful. It was like a melody that made him want to hear it again and again. Without even realizing it, he replayed the wise note twice before shaking his head. That playful tone of her hit totally different to him, and he kinda liked it. Wow, you really are something, Ryan, he murmured to himself while smirking, feeling bold. He decided to go all in. If we were a couple, people will call us ghouls. Don't you think so? He said, and Ryan's reply came instantly. Sarah, what in the rom-com fever dream is happening to you? Did you hit your head? Jungkook stifled a laugh, his finger flying across the screen. Just saying, if I were a guy, I will totally fall for you, he said while smirking, and the reply came in seconds. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but this is hilarious. Fine, let's be goals for tonight, my dear best friend. Once and another wise note this time. A little breathless from laughing while Jungkook found himself chuckling at her response, shaking his head at how clueless she was. He had meant to just mess with her, but somehow he enjoyed the conversation way more than he expected. Before he could go any further, the sound of keys jiggling outside made him snap back to reality. His mother and Sarah were back. Crap. He quickly deleted the entire conversation, making sure there were no trash left. Just as the front door opened, he tossed the phone onto the couch and stretched, acting as if nothing had happened. Better not have done anything weird with my phone, she said as she walked in, narrowing her eyes at him. Me never, Jungkook gave her his most innocent look while Sarah rolled her eyes and grabbed a phone completely unaware of what had just taken place. Meanwhile, back at Vine's place, Vine stared at her phone, shaking her head with an amused grin. What the hell happened to Sarah? That was so random, she thought, not knowing it was Sarah at all, and Jungkook, he was already planning his next move. The next evening, Jungkook was up to his usual antics. While Sarah was distracted downstairs, he sneaked into her room, his eyes scanning for her phone. A smirk tugged at his lips when he spotted it lying on the bed. Too easy, he murmured before unlocking it quickly. He went straight to his ongoing game, flirting with Vian under Sarah's name. But this time, he decided to step it up. If Vian thought yesterday's messages were bold, today's was going to be even hotter. Do you believe in love at first sight, or should I walk by again shirtless this time? He typed, grinning proudly, and my reply came quickly. Sarah, you have lost it, but I won't lie. That was kinda smooth, Jungkook grinned, reading Vian's reply, leaning against the headboard. I must be a snowflake because I have fallen for you and I will not mind melting all over your body. Jungkook chuckled, shaking his head. First, he just wanted to have fun after messing with Vine, but now it seems he started accepting the reality he always hides, that he felt something for Vine, something deep and real. Are you a star? Because I want to make you see galaxies tonight. He smirked, reading his own messages while Vine was still typing, or maybe she couldn't able to find right words. You should come with a warning label because damn you are dangerously addictive. Jungkook didn't wait for her reply and sent another one before giggling as he imagined her reaction as one typing bubbles appeared, disappeared, then come back. Okay, what is going on? You never this naughty Sarah. Are you possessed? Jungkook chuckled to himself, enjoying every second of it. He wanted to see how far he could push before she caught on. I was just thinking if we were in the same bed right now, what will you do? He waited, biting his lip. Wan's reply was instant. I will throw a pillow at your face and tell you to shut up, obviously. Jungkook burst out laughing. Cute, he muttered, but just as he was about to type another message, a knock sounded on the door. Panicking, he tossed the phone back onto Sarah's nightstand and acted like he was minding his own business. What are you doing in my room? She asked, raising her brow while Jungkook shrugged. Can't you see I'm laying on your bed? He replied while Sarah frowned. Are you planning to shift in my room because I'm noticing you visiting my room more often than usual? She said while Jungkook stretched his body on Sarah's bed. Why you are so noisy? I'm your brother. Can't you let me rest your bed? This mattress is comfy. Yours is more comfortable than mine, Jungkook. Get lost or I'm gonna call mom. She said, but Jungkook chuckled. Okay, go tell Emma. Just don't disturb me, he said and turned. Now he was laying on his stomach while Sarah blinked in disbelief. Yeah, you crazy? She yelled as she threw a pillow at him before he stormed out of her room to complain about Jungkook while Jungkook quickly got up and checked Sarah's phone. To confirm, there was no text from Ryan, and when he saw nothing, he disappeared from Sarah's room. One had spent the entire time thinking about Sarah's sudden change in behavior. It was weird. Sarah never flirted that much with her, and those pickup lines, that was insane. Something wasn't adding up. So when she spotted Sarah, she marched straight up to her. Alright, Isabel, what's going on with you? She asked as Sarah blinked in confusion. Huh? What do you mean? She asked back, while one crossed her arms, holding up her phone. Don't play dumb. All these messages, this new weird side of you, what's up with that? She asked, showing her phone screen where the chat was open. As Sarah frowned, grabbing Ryan's phone as she scrolled through the messages, her eyes widened. What the? I didn't send it. She almost yelled in shock, her eyes wide while one laughed, shaking her head. Oh, come on, stop messing with me. I didn't know you were interested in same gender, but babe, I like opposite gender, but you are my best friend, and I will find you a perfect match. She said while Sarah shook her head. Yeah, Ryan, stop. It's not what you are thinking. I swear I didn't send you any messages. She whispered, yeah, but Ryan laughed. Oh, come on. It's your number, Sarah. Okay, if I send you, then where is the messages? I promise I'm not pranking. I'm serious, Sarah said as she grabbed her own phone, scrolling through her messages. The conversation was missing. Seeing Sarah so frustrated, now Ryan was also looking puzzled. Look, I didn't know anything. Sarah stopped in middle as she looked at Ryan in pure shock before gasping. It was Jungkook. It has to be. He used my phone some days ago because his got broke. Oh my god, I forgot to change the password. She said, closing her eyes in frustration while Ryan's eyes widened before a slow smirk appeared. Oh, so he's been using your phone to flirt with me. Interesting, she said, and seeing Ryan evilly smiling, Sarah grinned, already catching on to where this was going. You are thinking what I am thinking, are not you? She asked as Van nodded. Let's give him a taste of his own medicine, she smirked, looking at Sarah. At night, Sarah's room was dimly lit, her phone placed strategically on the nightstand. Meanwhile, Sarah and Van were crouched inside the bathroom, holding back their laughter. I swear, if he falls for this, I will never let him live it down, she whispered as Van grinned. Just wait and watch. Van whispered back, right on cue. Jungkook crept inside the room. He glanced around, making sure no one was there, then snatched Sarah's phone with a mysterious smirk. Let's see how you react to this one, Van. He thought as he quickly typed out a message. Hey, I was thinking maybe it's time I confess my feelings to my crush, he typed, while hiding in the bathroom. Van smirked as she read the message. She quickly typed back. That's great. I think I should confess to my crush too. He's so sweet and caring. I can't help but like him. She replied back while Jungkook froze, his jaw clenched as a wave of irritation ran through him. Who was she talking about? That conversation was so old. He read where Ryan and Sarah was discussing about a guy they saw in a club. Could it be possible Ryan and that guy exchanged their contacts and they are in touch? He thought as his fingers moved quickly on the screen. Who is this guy? Are you sure he is even worth it? He asked, and inside the bathroom, Sarah had to slap a hand over her mouth to keep from laughing. One green typing her next move. Oh, he's definitely worth it. Honestly, I think he's even better than Jungkook. He's really hot. One time while Jungkook's eyes darkened as he read that message, his jaw twitched. His grip on the phone tightening. Without thinking, he typed back. That's ridiculous. Jungkook is actually a great guy, and he's even more hotter than him. You should consider dating him instead. He typed before he sent the text, and that was all it took for Sarah to break. Oh my god. She shouted loudly, seeing the text made Vine's eyes widen as she clapped her hand over Sarah's mouth, but it was too late. Jungkook had snapped towards the bathroom door. What the hell? He muttered under his breath, and in two strides he yanked the door open. Sarah and Vine stood there, collar and head. There was a long silence before Jungkook narrowed his eyes. You two planned this, didn't you? He asked, looking at Vine and Sarah as Vine smirked, crossing her arms. You started first. She shrugged while Jungkook exhaled sharply, shaking his head before his gaze locked onto Vine's. There was now no use of pretending as he got caught red-handed. So tell me, do you really like this so-called crush you were talking about? He asked, his tone possessive as Vine raised a brow. Why does it bother you? She asked as Jungkook scoffed before stepping closer. Yeah, it does. You belong to me. And if I ever see that guy, I'm breaking his teeth, he said while Van glanced at Sarah in shock before she again looked at Jungkook. Her heart skipped a bit when he confessed just like that. A whole damn zoo of butterflies danced in her stomach. But she recovered her shocked expression with a laugh and rolling her eyes. You idiot, we made up the crush. Like you were flirting with me with your pickup lines, she said, crossing her arms around her chest. What? He asked in surprise as Sarah grinned. Yeah, genius. There was no other guy, she said, blowing on her nails as Jungkook turned back to Ryan, who was smiling at him. You were jealous of no reason, Jungkook, but for what it's worth. I like you too. It's better to have someone to annoy, and you are perfect. For the first time, Jungkook was speechless. Then a slow smirk spread across his face. Took you long enough to admit it, Van rolled her eyes, but before she could say anything else, Jungkook grabbed her wrist, pulling her closer. Van's heart skipped a bit, but she quickly replaced the blush with a smirk. Because if I were not, then who will going to annoy you? She said as Jungkook raised his brow in amused. You are mine now, Van. No more stupid flirting through Sarah's phone. Next time I will just say it to your face. He winked with a smirk while Van chuckled, shaking her head. Yeah, whatever. Just don't break into your sister's room again, weirdo. She said as Sarah ground in the background. Of course not. Now we will meet in my room. And don't tell me you don't like the pickup lines. You were enjoying them, he said with a mischievous smirk while Van bit her lip to suppress her smile. Don't be ridiculous, Jungkook, she said while looking away with red cheeks at Jungkook chuckled, holding her chin. He made her face him. Wow, you are blushing. That's a totally new side I am witnessing right now, huh? He murmured with a mischievous glint in his eyes, and that teasing smirk just added fuel to Vine's uncontrollable blush. Vine was surprised as how she felt so helpless under his gaze and his gentle hold on her waist. The blood in her body was circulating fastly. Her heart was pounding uncontrollably, but it felt so right to her that she even forgot her surroundings. Can you guys stop being disgustingly cute in my room? She said after clearing a throat while playfully rolling her eyes, but neither of them was listening anymore because at that moment nothing else mattered except the realization that despite all their bickering and games, they had always belonged to each other. They become enemies to lovers.